This is CRM Audio, the Microsoft Dynamics CRM podcast, with George Dubinsky, Joel Lindstrom, and Sean, the CRM Hobbit Tabor.
CRM Audio, the Dynamics CRM podcast, is sponsored by KingswaySoft. They offer robust error handling and superior performance to streamline your development process and increase productivity. Their dynamic CRM tools simplify integration development work with easy-to-use development and scheduling processes. With their SSIS toolkit, your data integration can happen quickly and automatically so you don't have to worry about out-of-date records. The ultimate goal of the toolkit is to simplify data integration development work. By utilizing SSIS as your data integration platform, you can take advantage of the flexibility and power of SSIS ETL engine, which enables integration with virtually any application or data source that you may need to work with. We thank KingswaySoft for their support of CRM Audio.
Welcome to CRM Audio, episode 25. Joining us this week is our special guest, Tanguy Touzard. Tanguy is one of the CRM MVPs from France, and he's also best known as the creator of the fabulous XRM Toolbox.
Hello.
The most common tool that I see people use as far as CRM configuration and development tools is your XRM Toolbox. And so we wanted to talk to you a little bit about kind of how that came to be and hopefully what's coming as well.
Okay, so the first things to understand is Microsoft Dynamics CRM is a great platform to customize your applications. It's so easy to customize, but with a lot of features, you have to repeat tasks. You create a view, for example, and you have to create another view, and you want the same layout. So you create the same thing so much time, So I was quite bored about this repetitive stuff. So I decided to create some tools to help me to improve my productivity, just to say, hey, I don't want to click 50 times the same checkbox, or I don't want to repeat the same task days and days. So I just figured out how to create a tool for one purpose that will help me improve the productivity. It was the very first start of the idea behind the XRM Toolbox. So what's interesting, I found back a blog article from Jonas Rapp, the creator of Fetch XML Builder, which is a plugin for XRM Toolbox. And he wrote an article about the story behind XRM Toolbox with all the history and dates, which is quite interesting. So I found back that the first tools came in November 2008, which is far away, as you might understand. And it was the first tool, which was searchable property attribute updater,
I know that one well. I've used that almost from the beginning.
Yeah, when you want to select which attributes are displayed in the advanced find feature, it was just the first one, first experience with repetitive tasks that was just boring me, So I just created this tool, and there was many more after that. And the idea of XRM Toolbox just came in 2012, something like that, just because there was so many tools and it was difficult to distribute them individually. So I imagined the possibility to have just one tools. Like said, I can't remember, but someone wrote in his blog, it was one tool to rule them all, like we have in
yes.
like we have in the Lord of the Ring. So this is really the idea. One tool to just to store all of them and be able to find everything you want in this tool. So this is really the base of the story.
So I find some commonality between what you're telling us and what Mr. Duro told us, which was the original idea, from what I'm hearing, wasn't I'm going to write this great tool that everybody's going to use, but it was rather you had a specific issue that was bugging you. And so you were starting from a place of, I want to write a tool that will help me not to have to repeat all this stuff over and over and over again.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was really the idea is, okay, now I can improve my productivity myself, but why not sharing this tool to the community? I mean, if I have to do this task again and again, I'm sure I'm not the only one. And to be honest, it was quite fearful for my employer. He just was thinking that if I share my tools, then our competitors will be better than us, you know. So, hey, we have a great tool in our company, and why do you want to share it? And it was really, hey, we are a community. If we want to improve the product, the ability to extend the product, we have to deliver this capability also to our competitors. And not every company is our competitor. We are separate market. I mean, in France, I'm not competing with your company, Hitachi, or other companies. So it can be useful for everyone. So it was really the idea, not to use it just for my own. And the real good feedback with this approach is to be able to improve the tools, because when you are the only one to use the tool, you don't see all possible bugs or problems. But when a lot of people use them, you can have a great feedback and be able to improve again and again the tools.
You started writing the tools, and then was it 2011 or 2012 where you packaged them together into the single download as the XRM Toolbox? And then after that, you've opened it up kind of to other developers by providing a way for, if George wanted to add a tool to it, it's not just we have to ask you to do it. You've made it so. I know Andy Popkin, one of my colleagues at Hitachi, has written an add-in for it. That's been fascinating to watch as well, where taking what you've built and the authentication to CRM and those pieces and being able to add your piece into it. That's been interesting. How many tools now do you know of that other people besides yourself have developed for the XRM Toolbox?
I guess we are about 10 or 15 tools, something like that. I'm trying to maintain a wiki page on the GitHub repository with all available tools, but I'm not the one that maintains the list. I'm asking developers to ask their tools in this list. And today, yes, we are about 15 plugins, I guess. And there is also unknown plugins to me. Some months ago, I implemented a statistics feature like Jonas Rapp did in this plugin. So I'm able to see what plugins are launched in XRM Toolbox, even if I don't know them. So sometimes in the statistics, I see plugin names I'm not aware of. So I can imagine what the plugins are used for, but I don't know them. But it's quite interesting to see that even some companies are using XRM Toolbox to develop their own internal tools for dynamic CRM.
What do you find are the most, since you have the statistics engine in there now, what do you find are the most popular or most frequently used?
Definitively, it's a sitemap editor, the first one.
Okay.
And then it's a competition between Web Resource Manager and Fetch XML Builder from Jonas Rapp.
I would have thought that the metadata documentation generator would have been in the top 5, because that's one of the ones. Sitemap Editor that's the one I see people using all the time. That's the one I probably use most frequently, especially as I'm scoping out an upgrade and I want to just have a copy of all the metadata and see what custom fields are in there. That's probably the one I use the most frequently.
Yeah, when you are maybe like a functional consultant, or I guess you need a lot of time this plugin. But even personally, I quite never use it. I had the requirement to use it, of course, because I developed it. But really, I'm not using it quite a lot, and developers, I guess I'm not really using it. I'm more using the metadata browser. I developed some kind of metadata browser, similar to what Microsoft is delivering. So I'm using it because I need to know all attributes every time, I guess, when I write JavaScript and I write C# plugins, or I need to know the names and the attribute capabilities. It is readable. Can I create the value? So I'm using more a plugin in XRM Toolbox to directly see the metadata than generating a document that I will use after that.
Whilst you were talking, I've been browsing the repository, just looking at some stats. They're quite impressive. So there's been, and I assume that since migration to the GitHub, there's been like over 800 commits. How often do you get pull requests? How often people contribute to the core code?
There are 3 or 4 developers that help me often and a lot to improve XRM Toolbox. There are the guys from Synteros, so Jonas Rapp, Alex Stitkov, if I don't break its name, and Daryl Labar. There are these 3 developers really helping me to improve the product. And pull requests, must be 2 or 3 per month, maybe. But it can be for the XRM Toolbox itself or for one of the other plugins. But as you say, George, moving to GitHub was really a step forward for the XRM Toolbox development, because Codeplex was really a closed platform. If you want to contribute, you have to ask the owner of the project to be able to access the source code and modify it and update it. So it was quite difficult to be helped by other developers. And I was quite afraid to move to GitHub because I was afraid to lose control on XRM Toolbox, just to say, okay, I'm the owner of XRM Toolbox, but if it moves to GitHub, anyone will be able to update my code and just improve it, which is a good stuff. But I was afraid to lose control on this repository, and it just works brilliantly. It's just amazing to have this community that helped me to improve the product.
So what happens with NuGet deploys of all file types of plugins? So you can actually use NuGet to distribute
it's the very
plugins?
last feature that was introduced in XRM Toolbox. The idea behind this feature was to be able to discover plugins without involving me as XRM Toolbox owner in the distribution, because I don't have time to handle everything with XRM Toolbox, especially when it's not my own plugins. And I saw a lot of people that was requesting me to add their plugins in the XRM Toolbox package, which I didn't want to do, because if I use the plugin, I'm almost I have some responsibility on these plugins, and if it doesn't work well, people will raise issues on my repository, which does not contain this plugin. So the idea was to be able to provide a channel to distribute the plugins without being involved in the distribution. So the idea is to create a NuGet package with the appropriate files and some dependency or tags that will allow XRM Toolbox to recognize this NuGet package is an XRM Toolbox plugin, and you can install it. So this is quite a new feature, and we have only 2 plugins available right now, which has a Fetch XML Builder from Jonas Rapp and a set of tools from Daryl Labar with the early bound type generator, which I'm using often in my project. So this is just the beginning, and I really hope this feature will be used by developers, because, as we said before, there is almost 15 plugins that exist outside XRM Toolbox. So it will really be great to see all those plugins in this feature.
So you're encouraging people who have their stuff currently outside of XRM Toolbox to use this new feature to bring it into the XRM Toolbox download?
With the other developers to write a simple but quite complete documentation on how to distribute the plugins through NuGet package and through this new feature. So I really hope it will drive them to use this new channel. And in the meantime, I will try to expose all the internal plugins of XRM Toolbox as a NuGet package too, just to be able to release new features faster, Today I'm trying to release one release per month, but if someone find a bug, then I can resolve it in 1 or 2 days. I have to wait the next month to deliver the new feature or the updated feature. So the goal will be to be able to release plugins individually and be sure that each time a bug is fixed, I can deliver the new version in a faster way.
How much time do you spend per week, per month dedicated towards the XRM Toolbox? Updates, new features, things like that. I know you're very busy with your normal, I'm everyday work as well.
So much time. Maybe 1 or 2 hours per week. But it's just because I'm just in a cycle where I don't have new tools to write. I'm not writing new tools currently. So it's just maintaining the existing ones, fixing bugs or applying some enhancements. So yes, actually it's not requiring so much time. But in my day-to-day work, I'm not really stopping working. I don't go to drink a coffee or something like that. So the pause in my work maybe can be time to develop XRM Toolbox. So I will have some colleagues that will do a break for 10 minutes. I will use this 10 minutes to move some codes or create a new feature. That's the idea. It's just small time, often in the week, but in the end of the week, it's not so much time. But this is really because XRM Toolbox is working well right now. But if I remember when I was trying to implement the new connection assemblies from the CRM SDK, I really spent a lot of time for testing, for trying to figure out how it works, and it's not so stable right now, actually. So there is still some work to do with connection, but this is the part that takes me most of my time when I'm developing XRM Toolbox.
So if you're in Paris or you work with Tanguy, bring him some coffee so he can spend more time on the XRM Toolbox. That's what I'm hearing. Wait, I've been amazed because there's been several cases where I've sent you a suggestion. Scott Sewell, Captain Red Laces, sent you a suggestion. One of them was for the tool to manage user filters, and it was amazing how quickly you turned that around. Or when we've seen an issue or a connection when CRM switches to a new version or something, I pass things along to you, and it's been amazing to me how quickly for a free tool. Some of the tools out there in Codeplex, I've emailed and never heard back from them. Where you're very dedicated and very, very responsive, even for a tool that is not something that you sell or is not something that you're contracted to support.
Yeah,
so
that's the point too. It's
you have great commitment to your
really
product.
Help the community, and especially for this plugin, we change a lot with Scott and yourself. This is the second aspect of the XRM Toolbox. Maybe there is some tools I don't need to develop because I'm not using the feature or I'm not trying to configure CRM the way other people are trying to do so. So when you asked me to develop this plugin, it was really the challenge. I didn't knew quite well the feature of filters for synchronization. It was really a way to improve my own skills on this CRM feature and be able to deliver a tool that will help you, but also other customizer for dynamic CRM. So this is the second part. The first part is to develop my own tools because I need them, and the second part is to get a need from other people. And if I think it's really it can be useful for other people, I will develop it. Just a small story. One time asked me to develop a plugin, and I refused at the first time to do so. It was to update a lot of forms of the same entity, adding a field on the forms, making it business required or hidden or enabled, disabled. And he was asking this because his case form, he had 180 case forms on Dynamic CRM. So he said each time I want to add an attribute, it takes me days just to add this attribute on the 180 forms. So he said, can you develop me a tool for that? And the first answer was, no, I mean, I don't know people that use 180 forms on the same entity. So it won't be used by many people. So to be honest, this guy paid me for developing the tool. So I did it. But the first answer was no. It has to be useful for the whole community, not just one guy. It's not the purpose of the tools.
Okay, so the rule is it either has to be useful or
that's it. You know, the tools are free, but if I can get some buckets, it's good too.
I've been wondering, I can see that the other interesting stats I can pull from repository is stale branches. I assume that there's been some work done, you tried a few different things, and for one reason or another you gave up on the idea or you discarded what you've been trying. One interesting branch is titled MEF with app domain. For those who don't know, MEF is a managed extensibility framework built by Microsoft, and when you start, say, Visual Studio, and all the tools that can plug into Visual Studio, and all add-ons to Visual Studio, they are actually added through this MEF framework. So I assume, because your tool is also a kind of an XRM Toolbox Studio where you plug in your different add-ons. So I assume that was an attempt to apply MEF to XRM Toolbox. If so,
okay, so
why did
actually,
you give up on
XRM Toolbox does use MEF. The difficulty was it's a new feature since the July release of 2015, and that's why it was a breaking change for all plugins. So it does use MEF, but the goal was to be able to use app domains, which will allow me to unload plugins and reload plugins. And the difficulty here is that user control from WinForms framework are not compatible with MEF because objects cannot be marshaled. The user controls cannot be marshaled. So it doesn't work. And if I wanted to implement MEF with app domains, I would have to convert the entire XRM Toolbox and plugins using WPF. Which is a huge work, and I'm not ready to start this very, very long journey.
Well, George had a great question about the Scott that I'd like to get your take on. Do you ever worry that by developing a super good sitemap editor, or with the addition of the Fetch XML editor, that you were in some ways relieving Microsoft of that responsibility? I can imagine when they have discussions about, should we put a sitemap editor in there, people point to the XRM Toolbox and say, no, this is fantastic. Let's not invest in that.
Or view management tool, for example, yeah.
Yeah, the funny thing is really when guys from Microsoft asked me, can we put a link on the CRM SDK to a link to your tools? And it was the case for sitemap editor. It was Jim Daly from Microsoft that asked me, hey, do you mind if we put some link to your XRM Toolbox website or thing like that? And say, oh no, I'm really proud of it. I'm in the CRM SDK, so that's really nice. And yes, of course, it's replacing or it's helping people to improve the configuration of Dynamic CRM. And if Microsoft see there is something available and that does the job, they can just let it go and say, okay, we don't need an extra feature. We don't have to spend time to trying to do the same feature in the web application directly. So yeah, I would like to have the same kind of tools in Dynamics CRM, but in the meantime, it's cool to be able to be the one that delivers these features for Microsoft.
Well, one thing I did see that they added, which was great, although I'll still use your tool to do it more times than not, is the ability to bulk edit attributes. Now that
Yeah, see that.
it was added either 2013 or 2013 update 1, kind of one of those little surprise features they sneak in but then don't tell anybody about. But shows that some of them they're still enhancing that capability. But I think there are a number of the power configurator or power customizer tools, which is where your tools are very popular for bulk form, bulk view, bulk attribute updater type things. That I wish Microsoft would do a facelift to some of those capabilities, because again, not trying to take away from your tool, but it just seems like those belong in the application to me.
Yeah, that's the thing that amazed me is there's some features that I'm providing through the XRM Toolbox plugins are so easy to develop. There is just maybe 100 line of code, and I always think, hey, why Microsoft doesn't deliver this feature? It's just so easy to do, and but I can understand that Microsoft has a lot of things to do for Dynamics CRM. But when you see the number of line of codes, you say, hey, it's just a small portion of code, and I'm sure they could have built in directly in the product.
I had another question. Now, XRM Toolbox is English only, right?
Yes.
I would have assumed that French government would have put a gun to your head, so you are obliged to release it in French. Did you have any requests to actually translate XRM Toolbox to any other languages?
Never had this request. And to reassure you, the French government doesn't know I'm developing XRM Toolbox. I'm hidden. I'm hidden undercover.
Well, until today.
Yes, and I'm MSCRM tools. I'm not Tanguy Touzard, in this. So they're not aware of that, hopefully. But no, I never had the request, and it won't be so difficult if I had to, because WinForms framework is quite good at it. But the only problem will be the layout of the plugins, because in France, everything we have to write take a lot of place and more than what you can write in English. So when in English it takes you 10 characters, it's 20 or 30 characters in French. So the layout of the plugins would be awful, I guess, if it was in French.
So what's your work environment like? What development tools do you use?
Like all developers in Microsoft world, I guess, Visual Studio 2015, update 2 since last week, and I don't have the particular tools. I'm using the ones that are provided for free to MVPs. So I'm using ReSharper. That helped me a lot to understand how to improve my code, because I'm not I will say I'm not a really good developer in the sense that I never learned how to code for a long time. I mean, I always had maybe 20 hours of C, 20 hours of C++, and 20 hours of C# before starting to develop. So it's not so much, and it's not easy to write code in the best way at the first sight. So ReSharper helped me to improve my code and to teach me how to deliver better code. I'm using another add-on which is called CodeMade, and CodeMade helps you to organize your code always in the same way. It's a reorganized code, remove unused using namespace or all this stuff, and that's quite all. As last one I'm using is just a small Visual Studio add-in to auto-number the projects, just so I don't have to maintain the version numbers manually. But that's all. It's just 3 tools combined with Visual Studio, and I'm good to go.
Wonderful. Here's the idea. You mentioned that you started to collect some stats, how plugins are used, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. How about we take this idea a bit further and imagine if you ask people for anonymous data collection when they use those plugins, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we collect data about like forms, the complexity of the forms, number of attributes, number of entities in the system, security, all sort of stuff, all anonymized. And then we feed that all into machine learning. So next time someone opens the tool, we can tell them when they go to the form editor or sitemap editor, you can say, you know what, compared to the rest of the world, your sitemap is not really optimized. Here's some suggestions we can make to make your sitemap more useful. Or you've got too many views on your system. The average system uses 15 views. You've got 175. Consider reducing number of views. And then I assume with Azure Machine Learning, we can make those changes. So imagine 2 years from now, you just start with fresh CRM and XRM Toolbox just does the job for you. You just tell it, you know what, I would like to build system for medical company with 75 employees, blah, blah, blah. It says, okay, done.
You make me dream, George. But yeah, collecting statistics is definitely doable. Even if the statistic I'm collecting right now are not maintained, just I guess 2 weeks of history or something like that. But using Azure, of course, we could do some kind of of feature. That would be great. I can think about it, but I really don't have time to do it. But yeah,
No,
it would
but
be fun.
would
Yeah.
be interested. I would be interested to join and join the project and to see what kind of anonymous stats we can collect.
Yeah, it's
So George, I think I heard you say you were volunteering to develop an add-in for the XRM Toolbox to use Azure Machine Learning. I'm looking forward to trying that out. Put me down as a beta tester.
Not quite. I was proposing to leech on all the other plugins and collect all the stats using machine learning.
the interesting stat would be to have really the how you say the average of custom entities in the system, custom attributes. I don't know if Microsoft is able to do that. Certainly with CRM Online, but not with CRM on premises, I guess. It would be interesting for Microsoft to deliver some kind of information, the average organization has X or Y entities number, So it will be nice, and maybe the first start will be for us, or for me, to work with the metadata document generator or metadata browser, which is one that always load and attributes. That can be a good start.
Right. So
I can tell
what do
you
you
one stat that we can use. Percentage of organizations using new underscore prefix.
Yeah, this is a prefix I hate. A lot of time I'm working for some customers that implemented their CRM their way on with another partner, and there is so many new prefix.
Well,
on
there's
this
probably some
implementation.
kind of a company out there with the acronym NEW or New England widgets or something like that. They probably start using CRM and think, "Wow, this is customized for us." So, what do you
I guess
find
it is.
in the last few releases? How much revision have you had to do to A, fix things that Microsoft breaks, or B, just account for changes in the platform?
Actually, not so much, I guess, except the connection, which was really big work to be sure XM Toolbox works with the latest version of connecting control. This one was tough. but apart from that, I guess everything is working pretty well. I know I have two tools to update. The first one is the solution components mover, which allows to copy all solution components from one solution to another solution. Meaning, if each of your developers work on their own solution, if you want to gather every components in the final solution, you can just use this tool to move components from one solution to another. And with the new solution framework, which allows to add only sub features of entities like attributes, forms, or views, this tool is not working anymore, or it's moving the entire entity instead of just subcomponents of entity. So this one is not working well. And I guess I had another one that wasn't working as expected. Maybe the solution import tool, just because they changed also the way to create patches and a new version. But except from that, I guess everything is working pretty well, and I'm glad it does.
Do you have any other news about other plugins coming down the road?
Actually, I'm not writing new plugins right now, but I have some ideas. Or colleagues of mine are thinking about new ideas for plugins. One that could be really great, I guess, but there is still analysis to do to be sure it's doable. Is the way to be able to add dependency to form fields when you add field or forms events. I don't know if you do that in your projects, but when you add an event on a field, you can put some dependencies on other fields that participate in the script that is triggered. And I don't know you, but I never do that because it's just so difficult, because the script can move during the project time, and so you never maintain this dependency list. So the idea between these plugins will be just to select a form, push a button, and it will add the dependency directly by how to say that, by parsing your JavaScript file, the web resource, identifying the attributes names, and say, okay, this attribute is used in the event, so I will add a dependency. This will be a great tool.
That actually would be quite cool, because that would stop a lot of breakage when people delete attributes.
Absolutely.
And still have those attributes referenced in the script.
This is really the idea. It's to avoid attribute deletion in the forms, and that breaks everything because the script was using this attribute. So we have still some analysis to do just to be sure it's doable to analyze the web resource script, just because you are not you don't have to use the attribute name, but you can use a variable that stores the attribute name, so that complexifies things. So some work to do to figure out how to deal with the web resource script.
What's the best channel for people that want to pass feedback along to you, either feedback about the existing tools or suggestions for other tools that would be helpful?
I would say the positive feedback, the best channel is Twitter, I guess, because I'm really monitoring Twitter and the hashtag XRM Toolbox. And when it comes to issues, bug, or something to improve, the issue part of the repository, GitHub repository, is really the best place to give a feedback. Since I'm also monitoring this page a lot.
Okay, great.
Have you considered opening like user voice account or something like that for suggestions and discussions?
Never thought about it, but I do. I did hear the podcast with Scott Giro, and I understand he's using this user voice stuff to collect feedback. So I can think about it. I'm sure, or I don't know if user voice will add more values that the issues part of the GitHub repository. I will need to review this this website and see and look how it works and what it can, what value can I find in this website. Yeah.
Well, Joel, we better let Tanguy go on and code because he hasn't submitted in 4 days. So
Yeah, because it was
let's
the
get
weekend.
us stopped now.
All right. Thanks,
Thank
Tanguy.
you.
This has been CRM Audio, the Microsoft Dynamics CRM podcast. You can hear previous episodes on our website, crm.audio. Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, follow us on Twitter at CRM Audio, or leave us a comment on our Facebook page, facebook.com/CRM podcast. If you have any topic suggestions or questions that you would like for us to answer on a future episode, please drop us an email at voice@crm.audio. Special thanks to Dale Simmons for our theme music. Go check out his website, dalesimmons.com. Please join us next time on CRM Audio.